Welcome back, and thank you for joining the Serving My Master podcast. Now, once the Torah started by clarifying and positioning the importance of internalizing what we discussed in our last episode, the idea of having children, the idea of making sure the continuity of service will continue, making sure that there will be another generation of service, and for ourselves to make sure that we have the knowledge that we are always obligated to try and figure out ways to make sure that we ourselves will always continue to remember to serve, and to ultimately reach the highest level of service. The Torah moves on to tell us the next mitzvah. The mitzvah of bris milah. The mitzvah that as soon as one tries to look in a little deeper, the essence of the mitzvah of a bris is understanding that HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chvodo v'atzmo said, if you're going to be able to internalize an idea of service, if you're going to be able to train yourself to become an ultimate servant, you have to be willing to put this in and on your body, to make sure that this statement that you are a servant is something that will stay eternal forever. Not only that, but at the same time, the Torah tells us that you are not allowed to put any other signs on your body. Because your body, just as your soul, needs to be fully in service of the Master of the world. Which means the body is not here to look for comfort or for joy. The body is here to be a vessel, a tool, in order to be able to become an ultimate servant. And that's why before anything, the Torah has to tell us, in order to be able to become this perfect servant, in order to perfect this vessel, in order to perfect this tool, it is necessary to actually first remove part of it, to actually first show that this body is a tool in service of the Master of the world. By putting in this eternal sign that can never be removed, by engraving into this body, this body, am a vessel and a tool to be of service of the Master of the world and nothing else. And for the second part, we see how it actually connects to the first mitzvah, to the first commandment of having children, the location of the bris milah, showing us that even this first commandment that was given to us, of making sure that there is another generation, is only relevant if we remember that this is in order to create more servants, in order to create another generation of servants, and to make sure that the service will continue forever. The essence of a bris milah is to make sure that a child, as soon as it's born, is recognized by knowing this is not a human being. This is not another human being like others. This is different. This child is different. This child is part of Am Yisrael. This child is part of a nation that serves the Master of the world. Which are why, of course, this mitzvah is one of the only two mitzvahs aseh, the two positive commandments in the entire Torah, that one who is over on this commandment is chayev kares, which in other words means this body has no place in this world. A body of a servant that is not able to engrave into his body that I am a servant, in other words, is not willing to commit to service for eternity, is not willing to show the world I am a servant. Such a body is not worthy of being in this world, because there is absolutely no purpose for such a body to be in this world. The mitzvah of a bris milah is a constant reminder for us to always remember that the only reason we are here is for service, to such a level and extent that even if our brain, our heart falls quiet and dark not to remember this, our body will remind us of its own purpose. And of course, if we flip the coin, Hashem wanted to engrave in this world a mitzvah that will remind us, just as you are born with a body that's imperfect, just as you are born with a body that you need to go fulfill a mitzvah to make it perfect, that you need to go and make sure that by doing this mitzvah you will perfect this tool, this vessel in service of the master of the world. We need to know and remember and internalize that our mind, our way of thinking, our heart, all of it needs to be trained, needs to be engraved with this signature of serving the master of the world. And it is in our hands to do so. Just like with our body, we have a physical action that we can do to perfect it, to make it a perfect vessel. The same with our mind, the same with our brain and heart. It is in our hands to perfect our tools that we were given. It is in our hand to make sure that we always remember that all we are here to do is to serve the master of the world. And when one internalizes these messages, when one internalizes and realizes that the mitzvahs that were given in the Torah right from the beginning are all with one purpose, to make sure that the human being, Am Yisrael, remembers that we're here to serve. What happens is that this creates a clear vision, a vision that will take us through the entire Torah, a vision that will take us through our entire life, a vision that creates goals, that tells us that we have a goal to reach, to become better servants. And in that case, we have to constantly make decisions that will push us in that direction. And if chas v'shalom we fall away from that path, the only way back is not by patting ourselves on the back. The only way back is not by telling ourselves it's okay, but rather by looking and understanding that as a servant, even if I moved away from the path, the way back is always going to be returning to service. The way back is always going to be understanding that as a servant, all I can do now is do the will of my master, even if yesterday I failed to do so. Moreover, it will give us the understanding and appreciation that since we are not our own masters, what happened, happened. And therefore, right now, the will of our master is to do his service today and not belittle ourselves for what we did yesterday. Because today, in this moment, we are just as much servants as we were before we failed. And we're just as much servants as we will be after we succeed. Because all we are, body, soul, brain, heart, all we are and all we can be is a servant of the master of the world. And that is the message of the second mitzvah that was given to us in our guide, the Torah's Moshe. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to continuing this discussion with you. Please feel free to send in your questions and feedback. Thank you and have a wonderful day.